KenJohnstonMedia.com.
Not yet. What is it? I'm still looking. I mean, you're a friend of mine, and I'm putting on there sharing, and I've got our show on there. Tommy, how do you find him? He's a friend of yours, and I'm looking. I've got 5,000 friends on this one, which isn't helping me much. I put in Ken R Johnston, and that didn't work.
He's on my
Ken Johnston.
On my computer.
Let me try Ken Johnston, folks. I'd like you to, it's Ken Johnston Mars 1. Let's see what this one says if I click on it. Ken Johnston .3158. Ken .Johnston . So put in Ken Johnston .3158. Ken, write that down so we won't have to keep asking you about that. Let me get that. So let's see, Ken Johnston. Does it have a comma first? But Ken is Ken small dot JOHNSTON .3158, and I probably need to grab that and put it on your pages for UFO Association Allied Command, or if we're going to build that as a separate entity. Which we have the name, the domain name, and I did have it up. But I'm not sure which direction we're going to go because so many people are veterans, and a lot of people saw 2001 Space Odyssey, and they probably feel just like we do, that they're part of something much greater. And we could talk about that for a minute because you don't have to be an astronaut like Ken here, Story Musgrave, to feel like you're part of the universe or universes, and I happen to feel I'm part of the universes, but then I don't know if I'm allowed with other people when I talk because I don't want to sound different, but I've had out-of-body and near-death, but it's different since I died, and because I had contact with beings that were just as real as anybody I've seen in person, and then we talk about dreams and other realms and dimensions. And this year is about getting organized in our own reality because each of us have our own. It's not the same. We come alone and we die alone. And we may come into a body, but, we use the body and then we leave the body behind. So we're talking about how we become originators of our own reality and our point of origin if it's not here. And I have a different place in space where I have an observer, and we can get really deep on that. But how do you have a site, an observation, Ken? And we can let Tommy and Ahmad talk about this. I have an observer inside me that's behind my eyes, and when I was sick as a child, I was rolling around in my mind, and it got caught inside my brain. And I know that sounds creepy, and I've tried to explain it to doctors, but they said that's impossible. That means you had insight from inside your mind. He says, it sounds like you were stuck in your brain. I said, exactly. And a gentleman that was working with me in speech therapy, once I had my throat cut and my neck cut open and had titanium put back in like a cyborg, had already died and left my body, and we can get into that later with Tommy on another show, Tuesday or Saturday or Sunday. We'll have Dr. Rick Miller. I'll get him to handle that. But, guys, do you have another place that you observe yourself? Because I have one out in space. Now, I don't know if you would call that when you watch your point of origin and your quantum mechanics that you have. You can be, they call it spooky. It's like Einstein talked about. You can be in two places at one time. Let me ask, go down the road, Ken and Ahmad and Tommy. Ken, do you have another place that you can be in your mind's eye or a part of you somewhere else in space or something to observe yourself? Do you know what I'm talking about? The person behind the person, an observer? Okay.
Yes, I do.
See if you can explain that.
Okay.
Each person can explain it.
I finally got smart enough. I got it all in here. If you've got a pen and paper, it's to get to the my website. It's the https://www.facebook.com, then a /Ken.Johnston.3158. Now, that's the 3158 and all that you gave earlier, the Ken.Johnston.3158. That's good if you already have all that HTTP stuff. And I get all mixed up with it. Now, you were talking about experiences of out of body. Well, I know people may find this interesting. I was the third born, all three boys of my mother. Dr. A.R. Johnston was aerospace engineer, and he was in charge of the vacuum chamber testing that we were doing on the NASA side as a NASA engineer. He's passed away. And then my brother that was in between A.R. and me, James Charles Johnston, he was killed when he was in high school on a school hayride. In this case, were alcoholics, illegal aliens from down below were out driving them down the dirt roads and whooped around and hit the road. And they were having a hayride for fun for the high school seniors. And that's how it was my brother. So I wound up the last of that. But the difference I want to add, and looking at a picture right now of my father, which was Johnston, more of a Scottish, but he had the French texture or complexion, I should say. But I wound up with blonde hair, blue eyes, and totally different than my other two brothers that were dark hair and brown eyes, as a matter of fact. So there was the theory came up that at the time when I had tonsillectomy, and here it is. I was born with a cyst over my left eye, and at the age of that was the age of 3, and at the age of 5, the same doctor that removed the cyst was going to do tonsillectomy on me, and at the time that they used a medication instead of ether back in those days. Anyway, they did ether on me, and my heart stopped beating. I stopped breathing, and the doctor threw the tools in the air, grabbed, and at the time I just learned to do a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and saving lives. And I bring that up only because my two brothers, as I mentioned, were dark-haired and brown eyes. Here I am, blonde hair, blue eyes. And when you talk about walk-ins or entities that haven't finished what your accomplishment might be on this planet as a station, as a live human being, a shell, that there's a possibility that the person you're listening to now talking is another being, either human being or what have you, that chose to incarnate into the human life, chose my body, and where I was dying on that table in the operation, and I survived. And since then, I've had numerous times in sleep mode that I've traveled to other planets, other places, events and things, and that's always been a thing in my life that I was interested in space and got to do it in this condition that as a human being, yet having the opportunity to make contact with extraterrestrials through meditation. I did a lot of research into the Japanese and Chinese meditation techniques. I say that because I haven't been using it greatly. As a matter of fact, though, I did use meditation to go into a transit sleep last night when my wife and I got in late. So, yeah, those events and things do happen, and some people are extremely good at being able to translate their mental being to other locations throughout the whole universe. So don't be surprised if there are things that are going on that you may be aware of that you've been hiding all these years. It's time to come forward. So,
well, thank you, Ken.
I don't know if
that's a good point. And now that helps. That helps me. And, however each of us think of that other part of us, I'm sure we'll just take a few minutes here. Ahmad, how about you? That other part of you that maybe you can't see on the outside, but that place that you are maybe behind your eyes, somewhere in your brain or somewhere outside your brain. But you know what I'm talking about? There's another part of you, maybe a deeper part of you. Some call it your soul, your essence. But
yeah, it shows in your dreams.
Go ahead.
Really
your beta, alpha, theta, delta, your other level of consciousness.
When you're dreaming, if you have a lucid dreams, that's the real you.
I'll go along with that.
This is kind of like a costume that we wear. This reality.
Yeah.
It's
when you feel
it's
that,
exciting,
you know it's You know there's a deeper inner you that monitors everything that other people can't see.
Oh, definitely.
And that maybe it's not alien, or maybe it is alien, or maybe it's extraterrestrial, or maybe it's what people refer to as their essence or their soul. But, you know, other people
really
can't
don't
describe you. They just can't.
Yeah, I don't consider it alien. I mean, we're part of this universe, you know, so we're all, you know,
we're all aliens.
the same.
We're all
connected.
Well,
aliens, basically.
All right, Tommy, what would you like to add to that? Because you're a deep thinker and you've had out of body and near death too, but just add your part, because we're all individuals.
Well, for me, it's so different than the way you word it, like alien. And when I leave my body, I don't stay in the lower realm. I don't stay in the astral plane. I don't stay on planet Earth either. Most people do, and most people have to. But the astral plane is not even a place I want to go to. So when people say they leave their bodies and they float around and stuff, and they see their families and all that, that's still you. Like I guess Ahmad said it, and basically, you are a soul. You are that. You're not an alien. You're not a creature. But what you retain yourself as, awareness of your individuality of you, is who that is, and that's soul. And I use the word soul. I don't use any of the other words that you were trying to use, but alien would be if you took on another body, because they're in bodies as well, and they don't travel the same way we do. So there's a lot of contradictory between wording, but it's also belief and understanding of your experience during that. I was out of my body, and I proved it many, many times to myself. I proved it to other people. So it's not like I'm making it up. I'm not dreaming it, and I'm not creating it in my own reality. I'm just doing it. The other thing that people don't talk about, which is critical to when you leave your body, which very few people understand, I'll just say this lastly, is the silver cord. And that's what connects the soul back to this body when you leave it. Very few people can disconnect from that, because that keeps you in the astral plane from going any further. And if you want to understand that, Shirley MacLaine did a whole movie on that when she had that experience. She put her whole self on the line, releasing that to the world, saying that's what she did, which was, I was already doing it, so it wasn't like I heard what she did and I tried to do it. But it's critical to learn that. I think that's one of the most important things that a soul can learn in this physical reality, is to learn how to leave their body. I'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, folks, if you'd like to join us, we're going to have webinars and lessons on things that you probably already are studying about yourself in metaphysics. But Saturday, I'm going to have Dr. Rick Allen Miller, and we'll go more into that, whether it's a foundation of your own self-improvement or not. I know it's been a big, strong part of me and my spiritual business community and my network that I've been working on for years, free, and Facebook with all these groups, including UFO Secret Space and Alien Contact Org, whatever. We have many groups, and our mission statement was just to have the highest standards of excellence with regard to the uplifting of humankind by providing spiritual and educational awareness. And that's how so many people have got to know me, through the Ascension Center. I have Ascension.Center, but I have so many of my places pointing right now to ACO Association, because we're trying to combine them all, because they're so expensive these days to keep all the data up on a regular basis and do the webmaster work that's required. But we're talking about our origin, the meaning of ascension, and balancing our body, mind, spirit weekly, and just everything and anything regarding our past life regression and ancient beliefs and sacred places, and whether or not multidimensional beings and star beings exist. We have ascension masters, avatars, Akashan teachers, extraterrestrials, spacecraft, UFO studies, and we're dividing up a lot of the nuts and bolts people. We have Mutual UFO Network having their 50th anniversary, and we've got all the astronauts and the 50th anniversary. It's a big time. And we're all organizing, we're all different, but we're all the same. And so that special something that you have inside you, is it time for disclosure? Is it time for us to know our origin? Is it time to know if we're truly space advocates, if we really come from outer space. And what's the origin of the Big Bang? And what is the